Well, good Monday afternoon. It's weekend. We survived it. And it was, in my case, an uber ultimate busy weekend. Had a great time, but did a lot of things. Went to several places. But now we're back in the work week, and I'm going to do an early wine tasting here because I have my ukulele group practice on Monday nights from 6 to 8. So I obviously want to get moving after I do this wine tasting for my uke group. We're going to do an interesting wine tonight. We're going to do, it's a Margaret River, which is from Australia. The name of the wine, the winery is Voyager Estate, and it's in the Margaret River Valley in Australia. What makes this wine interesting? Well, first of all, it's a 2019 vintage. It's a white wine, but what really makes this wine interesting, it's a blend, and you don't find white wines blended very often. This is a blend of a Sauvignon Blanc, which, by the way, happens to be, as you well know, my favorite white wine, and a blend of Sauvignon Blanc and a blend of a grape called Semillon. Now, Semillon is also one of my favorite wines. It's almost never found alone as a sole varietal in a bottle of wine, but I have seen it, but it's not common. Many years ago when I had my little vineyard here, I had some Semillon grapes growing outside. I think I had like 10, maybe 5 Semillon vines, and I harvested them one year and made, I think I had 8 bottles of white Semillon, and it was just super fantastic. So this should be quite an interesting blend. I haven't read about it or looked it up much other than the price point. The price point is around $10 to $20. It should be available at any wine store, probably at Kroger, Piggly Wiggly, or Giant Eagle, or any of your grocery stores, certainly any wine stores. I'm expecting this wine to be citrusy. Sauvignon Blanc has a tendency to be green apples, citrus, lemongrass, things of that nature. Semillon is somewhat similar, but it's more subtle. It's not a sweet wine, but it has a little bit of balance to it that makes it kind of sweet. So let's get started on this. Let me show you the bottle. And again, like everything else, it's backwards like it usually is. And so what we're doing here is a 2019 Voyager Estate Sauvignon Blanc / Semillon from the Margaret River Valley in Australia. Now keep in mind, a 2019 in Australia would be the equivalent of a 2020 wine here in this hemisphere. So it's really only a 4-year-old wine, which is pretty good for a white wine. Let's see what we get. Structure-wise, it's a very nice yellow color. It's not gold. It's yellow, but it's a pale yellow. But it's a very nice looking color. Body, it seems to have nice body. It has nice legs as I swirling around to get some of the esters to rise up. Ooh, it's a complex wine. It's very complex. I can see that it's coming. The first thing I'm picking up is green pepper. I'm picking up a citrus aroma on the nose. So green pepper, citrusy. Maybe more specifically on the citrusy, maybe more of a lemon than anything else. Perhaps a green apple in there. But it's a very complex when you have 2 outstanding, fantastic white grapes that you've blended together to make a wine. So on the nose, some green peppers. If you cut a green pepper, you get that aroma that comes up when you're cutting it on your cutting board. Lemon, green apples, Well, we lost the signal. I'm hoping that it came back. I've been having problems with my signal here this last couple of weeks. Let's continue on, and hopefully it didn't interrupt it too much. Let's give this a taste and see what we've got. Well, this is interesting. None of the flavors, well, I shouldn't say none, but most of the flavors that I picked up on the nose are not coming through on the palate. What's coming through on the palate initially is pear. I'm getting a pear taste, but I'm getting a faint lemony taste on the backside of the palate. Let's try this one again. It's pear. Picking up pear on the palate with a little bit of a citrusy in the background. It's a nice wine. This wine would go with anything, I would think. I would specifically pair this wine with a salad. The wine needs to be chilled. I may have it just a tad bit too cold, to be honest with you. But I like my whites very cold anyway, which sometimes if a white wine is too cold, it masks the taste. So I run that risk, but after I've been drinking wine for 50 years, I think I can take that chance that think I have a sense of what I'm tasting anyway. So it's a nice wine with a green pepper, citrusy nose, green apple nose with a pear, citrusy taste on the palate. The wine would go good with a salad, as I said, or a white pasta. I specifically think this wine would go outstanding with an Alfredo sauce type of pasta. I think that would be the perfect match. Or a green salad or a fruit salad. It would go good with a fruit salad if you're so inclined to do that. Or just a plain pasta salad with ranch dressing and maybe some shredded chicken in there. This would go good with that. Or if you wanted to have some type of a meat, it would go very good with chicken as long as it wasn't too spiced up with barbecue sauce. Cindy, I see you just came on, and I was getting ready to mention you, as a matter of fact. We've already done the sniffing and we've already done the tasting, and I was getting ready to finish up by saying that Mark and Pam Fullwider bought a bottle of wine for I think $5 or $6 at Dollar General. It was a Spring Creek Merlot, and they did a wine tasting a couple of days ago, and I would strongly encourage you to watch it. Well, then Cindy posted that she had went to her General Dollar down in the Harvey area, that's in the greater New Orleans area, and she bought a bottle of the same Spring Creek Merlot from General Dollar or Dollar General, and she's going to taste it. Well, I had already told my lady friend Marion that I was going to get a bottle of it too. I haven't got a bottle of it yet, so I'm just really curious. Mark and Pam have really kind of piqued a lot of interest here. So I don't know if Cindy and David has done a tasting on their Spring Creek Merlot, but if they have, I would really like it if Cindy would post something about the wine, what she thinks that it tasted like. If she wanted to, she could go back and see Mark and Pam's tasting, or she could do it and just get her own opinion and see what the differences are. Well, listen, I would like to end by saying, please do more wine tastings. Send me comments. I beg for comments. Subjects you'd like for me to talk about. I can do a podcast on here without tasting a wine. I mean, we can talk about anything. We can talk about corks. We can talk about any subject that you can dream of. So anyway, hi, Kells. We're leaving. We're just ending this. I'm finishing up right in just a minute or two. And by the way, I hope to see you at uke and guitar practice here in a little while. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. And it's a 2019 Voyager Estate, and it's a unique wine. It's a Sauvignon Blanc, which of course is a Sauvignon Blanc, of course, is one of my favorite whites, and it's blended with a Semillon, which is another white that you don't see very often, and it makes a tremendous wine. Cindy posted, yes, we opened it today. Surprisingly, it is very good. She's talking about the non-vintage Spring Creek Merlot, and Pam and Mark paid like $5.18 at Dollar General. And Cindy and David posted that they paid $3 for the same wine at their General Dollar down in the greater New Orleans area. I am going to pick up a bottle. But Cindy, when you get a chance, do a post on the page and tell us what kind of flavors you got from it. I know you said that it's very good, but give us a sense of what you're tasting. My suspect is that it is a Merlot, but I suspect that it also may have a little tiny bit of sweetness to it, which generally you never, ever, ever find in a Cabernet Sauvignon or a Merlot or a Syrah, but just my gut feeling. While I've got you on here, it's interesting that I said it's a non-vintage. And what a non-vintage basically is that when the wineries harvest their grapes and they make their wines, they always put a vintage on it because the vintage tells you aging time, how long it lasts, things of that nature. Sometimes they have some wine that's left over that they have maybe blended together, different grapes from their vineyards, and it may be not quite as good. So they kind of put it in what we might want to say is a holding tank, and they leave it there. And then the following year, they may add some more wine to that. And then the year after that, they may add some more wine to that. So they ultimately end up with some wine, and at some point they bottle it. And that wine is never labeled with a vintage because it could be multiple vintages. It could be 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. Vintage being, of course, the year the grapes were picked. Or it could be a single vintage, but they have decided not to give that wine the credibility of giving it a vintage. So just because it says non-vintage, that doesn't mean that it's a crappy wine. But more often than not, it is not up to the standards of their normal wine, depending on the winery that they put a vintage on, a year on, if you want to call it that. So non-vintages are usually their bulk wines that are left over that they kind of blend together. Now, there are certain types when non-vintage is pretty common, and this comes into the champagnes, and that's another story for another day. But a non-vintage on a champagne is pretty normal. You rarely actually find a vintage on champagnes. Through champagnes from the Champagne area of northeastern France. So that gives you a little bit of a clue on what a non-vintage is. And this Spring Creek Merlot from General Dollar, I keep calling it General Dollar, from Dollar General is a non-vintage. So it's likely a bulk wine from Spring Creek. Now, there is a possibility that Spring Creek, who is the winery of record for this bottle, may not have any grapes. They may have no vineyards whatsoever, so they end up buying bulk wine from Winery 1, Winery 2, Winery 3, Winery 4, a whole host of wineries. They may buy their bulk wines, blend it all together. In other words, they would be buying Merlot from this Winery A, Merlot wine from Winery B, and so forth. They blend them all together, and they label it with Spring Creek as the winery of record on the bottle, but they put a non-vintage because they may not even know the year, the vintage of that grape. So it's generally a bulk wine, but you can sometimes find some very nice wines, and it's most definitely a very inexpensive wine. Because it doesn't have a vintage, it knocks the price way down. So listen, thank you all for tuning in and learning a little bit about this unique white wine blend that I've tasted from the Margaret Valley in Australia. And again, I'm asking you, please post some wine tastings, post some comments, things of that nature. So, all right, well, listen, thank you very much, and I will see you all the next time. And my plan right now is to do a wine tasting tomorrow night, probably around 5 o'clock. I don't think there's anything going on then. It's just such a crazy summer for me. If you have a particular type of wine, red or white, rosé, that you'd like for me to taste tomorrow night, I need to know so I can go down to the wine cellar and pull it out. By the way, just as I came on, I got a message that I have 16 bottles of wine being shipped. They will be here on Wednesday morning, so there's some more wine coming for Wayne's Wine World Cellar. Well, listen, thank you all, and I will see you the next time. Y'all take care now. Bye.